Dr. Nicole Plummer, Lecturer of Cultural Studies, Institute of Caribbean Studies, Faculty of Humanities and Education at UWI-Mona. She's with us to express concerns about the lengths to which people will go to convey their message and its effects on society. She's with us now. Morning, Doc. How are you? Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doc.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah. When I saw this interview this morning, I mentioned to Debbie, I said, what we're talking about here, you know? I'm not on social media, so I don't use those platforms at all. But what is wrong if, say, Debbie has a business and she really wants to get that business out and she go out of her way and it's on social media and she have playing or carry the message across and stuff? What's wrong with that? Anything wrong with that?
No, it's actually brilliant and perfect because that is what you want for your business, right?
Right, but Doc, what happens though if I decide to go on the top of the halfway tree transport center to convey my message? Is that still okay?
You know, the thing is, we have to really explore what makes you do that, right? Because when an individual is desperate, when you have this feeling of powerlessness, of just not being heard, a sense of feeling invisible vis-a-vis your needs, then you are going to go to extreme lengths. And the fact of the matter is that if you continue to be ignored, there's no guarantee that the cause of that situation will change. So you want to shake things up, you know, so we have to really address the root cause of that.
That doesn't necessarily mean you agree that you should go up on the top of the transport center.
No, I am not. I'm definitely not going to say to someone, I mean, me going on top of the halfway tree transport center, no, that will not happen.
But don't you run the risk, going back to Debbie's question, don't you run the risk of, all right, what happened if it works, what he did? In other words, he's saying, all right, I want more money, and him get more money. And him say, I want more uniform, and him get more uniform. What happens if it works? And people will say, all right, well, watch me. Next week I going up there too.
You know, that is always a risk. When I thought about just this interview, what came to mind was in 2010 when you had a Tunisian revolt and someone who it was sparked by someone who set themselves on fire. And, you know, I reflected to myself, would I want any loved one of mine to set themselves on fire? And no, you know, so when you really think about it, if it works, then we could have potentially a lethal situation because people who are not as skilled as Sergeant Leo Bennett, because it's clear that as a firefighter, he has certain skills that I certainly would not have. And I'm sure you, Neville and Debbie, you don't have that skill.
True.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, to confront height, to keep stable, and eventually to slide down. So we could have an epidemic that would not be very good because you'll have quite a few unskilled people taking that risk.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know, Doc, I mean, protests and very creative ways of sending messages is not something that is new to Jamaicans. We've been doing this for a very long time. We'll block road, we will, you know, we will protest, we'll come off for work, all of those things as well. You know, do you think, though, that our culture has an influence on the way in which we do choose to get our messages across, though?
You know, Debbie, it's interesting that you started with block roading, right? Because there's actually a student, a graduate student, who is actually doing a research on block roading as a cultural phenomenon in Jamaica. That's Miss Melissa Beckford. But at the same time, you know, it is cultural. You can't ignore the fact that there is that kind of cultural spectacle about it. There's an element of performativity about it. And these are the things that draw Jamaicans. So Jamaicans are drawn to a spectacle. When something happens, we take out our phones, right? And we start to take pictures and we start to talk about it with each other, even before the era of social media. So there is something that is cultural about it. There's also that element. If you look at how we do protest, there is that element of theatricality about it, the way we use language. Even when you listen to Sergeant Bennett speak, there is that way in which he uses the Jamaican vernacular. It's a powerful language, to bring his point across, and that is drawn from it. Then there's also that decision of where he decided to stage his protest. No, that is certainly cultural. Someone from outside of Jamaica would not know the significance of the halfway tree transport center. So by going there and by having everyone, people passing by look up at him, he knew the impact of that center. So that is definitely drawn from the culture. So from his language to the flag to the shirt, everything about it. There's that performativity, and that is certainly a part of our culture.
You used the word desperation earlier, and this might be an unfair question because it's a bit vague, but how else you get the word out? I mean, so Mr. Bennett really wants somebody to say, this is what I want, and here I am. How else could he get the word out? I mean, like I said, it might be an unfair question, but what should I do?
That's really the cusp of the matter, though. When someone goes through the traditional channels, right? When you do the letter writing, when you reach out to the authorities, when you take it and you escalate it to the different traditional levels and nothing changes, what do you do? And there's no guarantee that going to social media and making a TikTok video, yes, you're emotive and you're putting that out there, and Jamaicans love humor, so you may find a humorous way to do it, or you might find a passionate way to do it. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of that can go unheard. And so is there an effective way to get the message across? I don't know. What I do know, though, is that we are talking about Sergeant Leo Bennett. And I'm hoping as well that we're talking about the cause, because we have to sometimes move away from the spectacle to the cause and say, why did he do this? And it was for him, the working conditions of the firefighters. So really, let's address the cause. And sometimes when we go into this, we focus too much on the spectacle. We can really cause a little bit more imitation. So let's listen to what he has to say in terms of that. And let's listen to other people when they're writing. People write to the newspapers all the time. People make videos. What can we do more to listen at this level without them having to go to desperate means to be heard?
Yep. We were talking about blocking the road, and protest is not specific to Jamaica. I mean, there was a huge one in France just a couple of days ago, and there's Russia and Ukraine and all kinds of stuff. Again, it comes back to the question: if I am not being heard, as you just said, then what I do? I mean, I don't know where else to go with this.
Yeah, are there ethical considerations? If I'm trying to get my message across, and is there a right way to do it then?
I don't know if there ever is a right way. I mean, right is a matter of perspective. So when our ancestors, for example, because as you said, it's contextual, our ancestors went to the cane field as enslaved Africans and we burn it down. Now, those in authority would say that they did say that we were savages, we were wrong. And their ethics, they didn't look at us as human beings, so their ethics was concerned with the damage we caused to their property and their earnings. So when it comes on to the ethical concern, we have to think, okay, why would this person do this? What length? Because there is no right way to go around. Every single form of resistance goes up against a hegemonic structure. That's the reality. And that hegemonic structure will never say that resistance is okay. If you walk the streets as in peaceful protest, as Martin Luther King did, you block people who are saying, I'm trying to get to work. If you are Rosa Parks and you sit down on a bus, they're saying, no, as a Black person, you should get up and give me your seat. So no form of resistance will ever be right. But the thing is it justified? Is it born out of inequality? I mean, the ethical concern is that if someone does imitate Sergeant Bennett's actions, then and someone less skilled, then that person can get hurt. That's a true ethical consideration.
Yep.
However, as a society, we do have to confront the extreme lengths that people go to be heard. And I think that is one of the ultimate ethical questions we have to confront. The inequality and how people are treated.
Yeah, you're going to vex with me when this interview done because I'm going to ask you another unfair question. The last time Sergeant Bennett did something like this, he was suspended. Should he be punished for what he did this time?
I don't know how much more he can be punished. I mean, suspension. I think Sergeant Bennett loves his job. Let's say that. Yep. And to be suspended from that job was punishment enough.
All right.
The most I can see is probably a lengthening of the suspension, but I am not sure how much further.
Yep.
And then also how in the long run history views you. So at the end of the day, it's a very tricky question.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that, but thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. God bless you and your family. Stay safe.
Thank you, Neville.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Lecturer of Cultural Studies at the Institute of Caribbean Studies, the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the UWI, Mona, Dr. Nicole Plummer. What's coming up now?
Yeah.